Okay, let's just dive right into this explainer and open up the dossier on a moment where a massive, joyous football celebration instantly morphed into a full-blown global diplomatic crisis. You know, the 2026 FIFA World Cup gave us some absolutely incredible moments on the pitch. But today, we're zeroing in on a very specific incident that happened right after the final whistle blew. We're going to explore how sports and geopolitics collided in real time, sending shockwaves that went way, way beyond the stadium walls. 2,400%. I mean, wow. That number truly captures the sheer scale of this event. It represents the unprecedented global Google search spike for the word Malvinas in the exact hours immediately following the end of that World Cup semifinal. Just think about that for a second. For a brief window, millions of people all around the globe simultaneously grabbed their phones to research a decades-old geopolitical conflict. It just goes to show how quickly a football pitch can become a stage for global historical attention. And the crazy thing? This massive digital shockwave was triggered by just 7 words. The message displayed on a banner by the victorious Argentina team simply read, "Las Malvinas son Argentinas," which translates to, "The Falklands are Argentine." Honestly, it's wild how those 7 words instantly transformed a moment of pure sporting triumph into one of the most intense diplomatic flashpoints we've seen in recent sports history.
Section 1, the Atlanta incident, where celebration meets controversy. So let's break down exactly what happened on July 15, 2026.
Picture this. The setting is the Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. It's one of football's fiercest, most legendary rivalries. And Argentina has just defeated England 2-1 to secure their place in the World Cup final. But as the post-match celebrations began, the focus shifted rapidly away from the goals. Players, most prominently including Lisandro Martinez and Giovanni Lo Celso, unfurled a white banner that had been handed down to them straight from the stands by the fans.
So you might be wondering, why did this specific action trigger such a massive institutional response? Well, this display stood in direct, undeniable defiance of the FIFA Stadium Code of Conduct. The rulebook is actually incredibly clear on this matter. It strictly, and I mean strictly, forbids any political, ideological, or offensive messages on the field of play. FIFA has drawn a really hard line to keep geopolitics off the grass. But right there in Atlanta, that line was crossed in front of a global audience.
Moving on to Section 2, the diplomatic fallout. 2 capital cities, 2 very different perspectives. Let's look at these starkly contrasting reactions.
This incident created an immediate, glaring fracture. Right on one side, we have the United Kingdom with swift political condemnation, basically characterizing the banner as an egregious violation of the rules that demands a formal investigation. But juxtaposed entirely against that is Argentina, offering a full, unyielding defense from its leadership. They characterize the act as a perfectly valid expression of national pride. It's really a textbook example of how 2 nations can view the exact same event through entirely different historical lenses. Let's break down the rhetoric from London first. The Prime Minister's spokesperson fired back instantly with this sharp statement. The World Cup might not be ours, but the Falkland Islands definitely are. And this political response was totally unified across party lines. Business Secretary Peter Kyle called the act an egregious violation, while Liberal Democrat leader Ed Davey openly slammed FIFA for what he called their sluggish inaction in responding to a highly provocative act. Conversely, if we look over at Buenos Aires, the messaging was completely inverted. Argentina President Javier Milei publicly defended the players, calling their actions perfectly valid and legitimate. He stated that the banner reflects a deeply held feeling that exists within all Argentines. And this sentiment wasn't just his. It was strongly echoed and amplified by Vice President Victoria Villarreal, who praised the team and firmly reiterated Argentina's historical stance on the islands. Then there's the human emotional toll, which is just as contrasted. The Falkland Islands government issued their own response, expressing deep disappointment. They labeled the display particularly insensitive. They made a point to note the heavy emotional impact this has on islanders, who are frankly still profoundly traumatized by the realities of the past conflict. But on the other side of that emotional spectrum, we have the perspective of the players themselves. Manchester United defender Lisandro Martinez explained the intense motivation behind holding the banner. He said, "I can picture a Malvinas veteran seeing that and weeping. We couldn't let the Argentine people down." So for the players involved, this wasn't viewed as some calculated political provocation, but rather as a sincere tribute to their nation's veterans. Which brings us to Section 3. History of the conflict. Centuries of dispute. Let's dig into the background file.
So, to understand why these 7 words sting so deeply, we have to look at the timeline and see how this builds over generations. This isn't a new argument by any stretch. The dispute spans centuries. Britain first claimed the islands way back in 1765. Decades later, upon gaining independence in 1816, Argentina argued they inherited the territory from Spain. This diplomatic tug-of-war kind of just simmered until escalating dramatically in 1982, when Argentina's military government invaded the territory, which triggered a devastating 10-week war. Decades after that, a major status referendum was held in 2013.
We really have to pause here and look at the catastrophic human cost of that 1982 conflict, because these staggering numbers are exactly why the emotions remain so incredibly raw today. That 10-week war claimed the lives of 649 Argentine soldiers, 255 British military personnel, and 3 Falkland Islanders. When players hold up a banner or politicians issue statements, they're speaking directly to the families and the veterans represented by those staggering numbers.
Now, fast forward to 2013, and we see the results of a definitive political milestone, a status referendum held for the islanders. And the result? Overwhelming support for remaining under British rule. I mean, we're talking 1,513 votes in favor, with only 3 votes against. From Britain's perspective, this is a definitive democratic result that absolutely must be respected, reinforcing their modern geopolitical stance.
All right, Section 4, Global Digital Impact. The world watches.
Returning to the immediate aftermath of the football match, what's fascinating is seeing where those digital shockwaves hit the hardest. We talked about the global spike earlier, but in the United Kingdom specifically, searches for the term Malvinas surged by a massive 1,700%. The islands remain a highly sensitive point of national identity in the UK, and this data proves that the very second that banner was shown, an entire nation immediately turned its attention right back to the underlying political dispute.
Section 5, FIFA Rules and Precedent, Repeat Offenses and Rulings. So, what is the pending verdict according to FIFA's rulebook?
Well, the reality is, FIFA has aggressively policed territorial claims before, and history is quite literally repeating itself. Back in 2014, the Argentine Football Association was actually fined £20,000 after players displayed the exact same slogan before a friendly match against Slovenia. Furthermore, in 2012, a South Korean Olympic player was entirely banned from a medal ceremony for holding up a political sign regarding the Dokdo Islands. So yeah, FIFA absolutely does not take these gestures lightly.
Based on those precedents, let's break down the potential outcomes of FIFA's Independent Disciplinary Committee investigation. Disciplinary fines, typically ranging from $5,000 to $20,000, are considered highly likely. However, individual player suspensions remain pretty improbable, largely because analysts note the banner was handed down from the fans in the stands rather than being officially produced by the team. And as for that extreme rumor floating around about Argentina being removed from the final, analysts universally agree there is zero prospect of that happening.
As we close this dossier, we're left with a fascinating reality. Just 7 words on a white piece of cloth generated global headlines, thousands of frantic internet searches, and a massive diplomatic standoff between nations. It all leaves us with one powerful, lingering question to think about. Can the beautiful game ever truly be separated from the world that plays it? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I really hope this helped unpack the complex layers behind the headlines. Keep questioning, keep learning, and I will see you next time.